top areas if you're thinking about buying an Airbnb investment property, short-term rental. Kenai is one of them you have listed on there.
It is.
Let's talk. So you talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the other reason I think Kenai is great for real estate is for Airbnb purposes. Again, because so many people travel from outside to come into the Kenai Peninsula areas, which is why I personally have invested in the Kenai Peninsula. So people, when they come to town, we don't have a lot of hotels. We do have a handful, but if you're coming from the lower 48 or from out of the country and you want to experience Alaska, most tourists don't want to experience Alaska in a hotel room.
Right.
Because you can stay in a hotel anywhere. Motel 8 and, Best Western, they're pretty much the same anywhere you go, with the exception of their decor and the location. So people want that Airbnb experience. They want something on the water. They want to experience a log cabin. They want to experience a yurt. They want to experience a tree house. Yeah. So having an Airbnb and have it be something unique and special, which really reflects the charm and the culture of Alaska, is really special for tourists that are coming to visit. And so I think that's a great area to have those Airbnbs, because you're going to attract the tourists that are already coming to the state, and you're going to offer them something unique and special with that experience.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that you said it right there, the experience.
Yes, all about the experience.
Yes, that people are seeking, especially when you're visiting Alaska. Okay, and another one you have on the list is the Anchorage area.
So the Anchorage area has become really, really popular for Airbnbs, so much that it's kind of upsetting some of our HOAs.
Oh no.
So there's talks of, maybe the HOAs not being as flexible with Airbnbs. But historically, they've been phenomenal for Airbnb. So we have such a transient population, whether it be our military, maybe our military members have family that are coming up to visit. Anchorage is where J-Bear is located. So if you have family members that are coming up to visit, they'll most likely want to stay in the Anchorage area, because they can essentially walk or Uber to wherever they want to go for the experience. We also there's just so much history in downtown Anchorage. So people will come to the Ulu factory. They'll come to our museums. They'll come to see the history. They'll come for the Iditarod start. Well, it's the unofficial Iditarod start, but we do that here in Anchorage. So there's so many different things that attract tourists specifically to the heart of Anchorage, that we have a lot of condo high rises, tiny homes, different opportunities for people to invest in those smaller properties that people would like to rent when they come to visit Anchorage. So another great place to have an Airbnb.
Awesome. And if we are coming to visit, when we fly into town, are we flying into Anchorage or Juneau, or?
You're probably flying into Anchorage. So if you fly into Anchorage, you can drive to everywhere in the Anchorage municipality, the Matsu Borough, and the Kenai Peninsula. Now you can take the little hoppers and they'll take you to some of those extenuating areas. It's going to be more expensive. It will most likely be a little bit further of a flight. But if you're intending on flying in, getting a rental car, and traveling at your leisure, then Anchorage is going to be your main hub for sure.
Got it. Okay, well noted. And for the third on your list, you have for Airbnb properties, North Pole.
North Pole. So I touched on this a little bit when we talked about Fairbanks. And, I think people forget about North Pole and Fairbanks when they're talking real estate. So I feel most of the real estate in the Fairbanks area and the greater Fairbanks MLS is really, it's due to our military population, because we have the two bases up there. But I think people forget what a tourist attraction the North Pole really is. So the Santa Claus house, seeing the auroras,
That's so cool.
There really is a lot to offer up there that I think people forget about. So for the few that remember the opportunity that it provides for tourists, and even for us locals, They have an ice museum up there. There's a hot springs up there.
Ooh, that's
They
me
have,
right there. The
yeah.
hot springs. Catch me at the hot springs. I will be there.
There are ice sculpture contests that happen annually up there. I mean, there's so many unique and special things that people travel not only from within the state, but also from out of state to come and see, specifically in Fairbanks, that nowhere else in our state has to offer, that people need to remember that provides investment opportunity. And so that's why I added it to the list as a good Airbnb location.
Love it. No, that's so good. I love this. Now, we've been talking about Alaska and everything. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to include with this episode?
I feel like you really covered it all. I mean, everything about our beauty and our travel and our culture and opportunity and our transient population. You know, I've noticed with a lot of people coming here on military assignments, whether they wanted to or were forced to, I feel like most people tend to fall in love with this place. And even if they don't fall in love with it during their time here, I think when they leave and go elsewhere, the light bulb goes on and they realize, wow, that place was really amazing. The people were great. The culture was great. The adventure was great. The beauty was great. The real estate is great. So I think people really take it for granted while they're here, and oftentimes don't realize how amazing it is and what they had at their disposal here until they don't have it anymore and they've left. So I think, you know, if I can give anybody advice, either visiting here, moving here, investing here, is don't take it for granted. You know, really take in the beauty and the opportunity and the adventure around you. And the more you get yourself outside and you experience Alaska, the more you'll realize that it's an amazing place to call home. It's an amazing place to visit. It's an amazing place to invest. And everything about it is just really phenomenal. And I hated to even put any cons on the list. I really had to think hard for those couple of cons. But, you know, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, right? So I had to provide some type of substance to tell people, hey, this is what you can expect in case people don't like the cold or driving in the snow like me. Or, you know, if they already experience any form of depression, that seasonal depression, I'm told, can take a toll on people in the winter, which is why so many people snowbird.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you're the perfect person to talk to for this because your love for the state, I can feel it. I can see it through. Yeah, it's just so cool. I love when you really come to truly appreciate where you live, and just it's the little things, yeah, for sure, or the big things. I grew up
a military brat. I was a military spouse for 11 years. I mean, I have traveled to some of the best places. I have so many friends who I consider family. I mean, literally all over the world. And when it was up to me to decide where I wanted to live, as opposed to the military telling me where I was going to live, there was no other place I can imagine calling home than Alaska. And I'm just so happy to be home and to have bought my forever home and to get to share this with everybody that's watching. So I appreciate you and the invite and the opportunity to share my love for Alaska with everybody. So thank you again so much for having me. And I hope this will encourage some people to come visit or even relocate and invest here. So
absolutely. Thanks, MJ, again, and we'll see you in the next episode. And MJ's info will be down below. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to her.